Sent to the future from the year 1999 by a glitch due to the Matrix, I'm adapting to thrive in the peculiar conditions of the 2020s. Join me in a multimedia extravaganza as we surf the World Wide Web, catch up on 2 decades worth of video games, and mess around with creative tools new and old. I'm Millennium Cyborg. Welcome to the new millennium. Alright, so I've been in a Matrixy mood recently with the release of the new trailer, and so I decided to throw together this updated model. I realised that in order to do a Trinity cosplay, all I really had to do was change the material of my top, get myself some glasses, and be ready to go. Which almost worked. You might be noticing something is a bit weird with the glasses. So, in order, first of all, I messed up in Blender and the glasses are weighted to the eye bones and not to the head, which is incredibly distracting. Or kind of funky. Second, the layering of the eyelashes with respect to the glasses doesn't look quite right. And thirdly, and this is something I'd noticed before, which in this particular OBS scene plays out in my favour, the handling of the transparency in VSeeFace is a bit weird. So the glasses and the eyelashes are partially transparent, and on my normal model you only see it on the eyelashes and it's more subtle. Normally in the capture of the normally you should just see me cut out and the glasses and eyelashes behind them have opaque polygons, right? Well, yes, that's the case everywhere, yeah. And so they shouldn't be transparent from the point of view of OBS. But somehow the transparency value of the glasses and other transparent objects is making it all the way to the surface captured by OBS. And it kind of looks like a reflection in my glasses, but actually it's showing you the animation behind me. I think the only thing for that is to actually file a bug against VSeeFace, but also it's a useful bug. I kind of like, the way it looks, and I'm thinking of other projects I could use it for. So maybe let's not report the bug just yet. I don't know how well it's showing up in the encoded version actually, but in tests I ran earlier it seemed fine. Oh, I'm just realizing, okay, I fiddled with a lot of settings messing around earlier, but I think I've got everything right now. Yeah, stream looks good. All right. Oh yeah, and I've not forgotten the Bryce project I was doing before. I just got distracted as usual by the Matrix coming out. I also went on Kevin Kevin MacLeod? I'm not sure I've had it pronounced. Incompetech.com, which has a bunch of free music, and I was aware of it for a while but never tried listening to it, and I found a whole bunch of sort of film soundtrack, slightly matrixy sounding pieces of music. I'll have a full list in the credits of today's playlist, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. Alright, I'm gonna start with Blender and show what I got wrong, and then we can look at the painful process to well, the workflow that I have at the moment to get it back into Unity and into a finished model. And I've been struggling with this workflow. I think I even mentioned it during my debut stream. It's been a while. So I've been learning a lot about Blender. I've not been learning so much about Unity. And I think it's time to rectify that slightly. So over here, in this Blender file, I didn't even modify the materials for the top because I did that part in Unity. There's manual steps involved in going from the Blender model materials to the Unity ones anyway, so I'm not sure. Once they're in Unity, it's the easiest thing to do is to just make sure that the right material is selected on the new model. Although I suppose I could recreate it. Sometimes I do renders in Blender, and yeah, I'll probably fix it here as well at some point. But I was trying to be efficient when I was making this. So what I used were some reference images. Oh, okay, here we go. I started with some reference images of official merchandise, as well as some shots from the set of the movie. And once I had two angles to work from, I was able to start drawing. First of all, I started with a profile. Right, I just traced around, and then I added the metallic part around the edges. And so I was referencing this front view and also trying to recreate this slightly weird angled view because I didn't have any shots from directly above. So I used this image and tried to match this outline as well. And the way that I created the curve, I thought this looks roughly like, you know, a cylindrical bend. So I made a cylinder. It's green just to make it easily distinguishable. And then applied a modifier to shrink wrap the glasses onto the surface of the cylinder, And then I was able to play with the exact angle and size of the cylinder to try to make something that matched the appearance of the original I was working from. One part of the workflow that I'm still figuring out is what to do when you have destructive operations. Following a tutorial or 12 that I watched, I think the best option is to keep the version before the destructive operation somewhere and just make a copy on which you've applied that destructive operation that you then continue working from. So at least you can go back and reference the previous version or rework from there and not lose all of your work if you've done something wrong. Another thing I'm still figuring out is how to version things effectively. For source code, you've got Git, and it's very straightforward. You can, you can compare things. You can, most importantly, if you've got multiple versions of something, you can merge them. For models and scenes and textures, you can't merge things, so at best you can record a number of versions over time, but sometimes you want multiple versions side by side. So what I've ended up doing is the the traditional blah blah blah. What is this one called? This one's called Millennium Cyborg Model Pre-Debut 07 Trinity. And yeah, inevitably I will lose track of exactly what this version is based on and so on. I did see some advice to try to organize larger projects, at least to use scenes that import other scenes. And you could imagine doing something like that here, maybe with a base model and then accessories being imported, but that's a bit beyond me at the moment. Alright, so I've waffled on for a while. Let's actually look at the issue with the glasses that are following the eye bones. Oh, you know what? I'm remembering now. I might have already fixed this in this model. What I did was I parented these glasses to the model, right? And just let them automatically set their weights. And that often works quite well. But the nearest bones to the glasses are these two eye bones right there. These two. And what I wanted was this bone, the head bone. So what I had to do was I went into the vertex groups of the glasses. I deleted all the ones that weren't the head. So previously it looked like this, right? With absolutely a vertex group for every single bone. And then I actually went in and painted it manually. I have to click the armature and then shift click the model and then select weight paint. And then... Did I do it right? I'm seeing some red. That's weird. There we are. So there's probably a better way to do it, but I just manually painted all of the weights with that particular vertex group selected. And the mapping between this vertex group, so the vertex group is just a collection of vertices in the model and corresponding weights from 0 to 1. And then the way that gets applied to the bones and to the armature is just by correspondence of the name of the vertex group to the corresponding bone name in the armature. And there's also a modifier on the glasses that's an armature modifier that references the armature of the model. So you can actually pick other options. Bind to bone envelopes would effectively be automatically weighting it and ignoring the weight painting. Oh, you know what? I can show you what it looks like to do the automatic weights. So I've removed, that's a bit easier to see. I've removed the armature modifier, and then I'm going to also remove the parenting here. Alright, and I'm going to go back. So I'm clicking the armature, shift clicking the glasses, and then parent with automatic weights. Loop in parents. Parent, clear parent. Try again. I hadn't properly undone what I was doing before. So parent with automatic weights. So now in here, I might be clicking the wrong way around. This then that perhaps. Oh, the armature's there. What? Armature. Parent, clear parent. Okay, I'd made the parents the wrong way around. That looks right. So now we have all of these different bone groups. They're kind of behind me. And in particular, if we go into weight paint mode, so armature, shift click the glasses, weight paint mode. So if we click the head, we can see that where it was red before because all of the weights were 1, now we just have a bit of weight on the end of the glasses. And that represents points where the head bone is closer than the eye bones. But if we pick, for example, the left eye, the weights have been automatically set based on the distance to that eye bone, the nearest one. And that's how you end up with this weird effect here, where I look around and the glasses are moving. In fact, they'd probably start deforming if my gaze on my two eyes managed to diverge or converge. I don't know if that's even tracked by the tracker. across my eyes. Hang on, I'm going to bring up my own stream because I can't. I need to see it after the fact. I don't think the tracker is allowing me to cross my eyes. But if it did, yeah, we'd see weird deformations. So, okay, we can revert this. And then check. Our weights are back to how we expect. So I've made this modification to the model. And now I want to bring it back into Unity. And this is the part where I have a set of steps that, if I've not messed up anything in Blender, and if I spend enough time, I can get back to the functionality of model that I have at the moment. But I'm afraid that the more I try to put into the model, especially in terms of custom behavior in Unity, the more steps I'll need to take in order to reapply it every time I make any small change to the actual mesh. On top of that, the glasses are a completely separate mesh, and I imagine it ought to be possible to bring it in independently as its own model, and in Unity affix it. And I have seen YouTube videos, but it's quite hard for me to pay attention all the way through and then, you know, find like the one bit of information that I'm really missing. And sometimes people suggest things and I try them and they don't work. And at that point I'm a bit lost. So what I want to do is to really understand what is happening, not even necessarily under the hood in Unity, but, you know, what are the data formats involved? How does VC Face at the end of the day know how to animate this according to my, you know, my motion data? So I think this is the, another thing, I think this is the broken version of the weights. I don't have a good way to figure that out though. I can't visualize the weights on this. I suppose there must be a way to pose it, right? That's something I have to figure out. So the workflow is as follows. In Blender, for the full workflow, I will select my entire project, and I'll do an export to GLTF. I won't do it here because it's not useful, but what it does is it gives me a version in Unity that correctly imports all of my materials, at least when it comes to the basic properties of the material and the textures. It's also possible that I could bring in the Blender file and have the same effect. I've not experimented with that too much yet. So doing that step, I get the materials with the right names inside Unity. I've done that already, so I don't need to do that here. Next, I want to export the model FBX. I'm going to use the CATS plugin to do it, but all it's doing here is setting the right export settings. It's warning me my model is not optimized, but that's only really a concern if I'm going into VR chat, and here I'm just going into PC face. I'm going to overwrite the existing model. You can't see that in the file dialog, but all that's important here is that CATS is pre-populated, that, you know, a certain direction is forward, certain direction is up, and cameras and lamps shouldn't be exported from the scene, just the armature and meshes. The next level of things I don't quite understand. So the workflow is we go from potentially two versions of the exported avatar, the GLTF and FBX. And at that point we can export it as a VRM with the UniVRM plugin. And only upon export do certain properties get set on the model that we can then reopen. Once it's been reopened, it's a proper setup VRM model inside Unity. And at that point, if we re-export it, it'll be a working VRM as we designed it. Alright, so this one is the GLTF I imported earlier. And actually you can see that in this case it includes the cylinder that I used for modeling and probably multiple versions of the glasses. And then this is a prefab asset, which I only slightly understand. Like, I get the concept, but there are details which escape me. So we can tell that because it's I've got this GLB scripted importer thing here. So GLB is the binary version of GLTF, I think. This one is the previous FBX that we imported. And here we've set up the, well, several properties. The important ones are this humanoid rig. So the humanoid rig it's a native Unity concept. And what it's doing is giving standard names for, well, or identifiers for the bones of the model that are certain humanoid bones. for example, the head and the neck and the left arm, upper left arm. So when we can figure it, it actually mostly gets this automatically. Mapping, I think based on the name rather than any structural properties. The important bones in the model that's been imported, how those map to the conceptual bones here. And then inside VC Face, it's using the humanoid rig concept to know which bones correspond to actual motion data from tracking. And that includes the eye bones. So we might be able to, because I saved over the same model, we might be able to re-import and now I expect I should be able to, right, I can actually test this. We're seeing a lot of hair bones that aren't very useful, but well, that's not good. So clearly here we're moving the eye and the glasses are weighted to follow the eye bone rather than the head. I think what's happened, well, my guess is that it's reloading a copy of the FBX and not the version that I exported. So what I'm going to do is try to copy over it from my Blender export directory. So I can see that this was modified just now. I'm going to go into Unity, into the Assets folder, and copy over it. It automatically refreshed it actually. And there we are. So now I'm wiggling the eye and it's only affecting the eye itself. But the glasses still follow the head. So that part is working. Unfortunately, That was just for the prefab, which is this one. Well, that's an instant of the prefab. And this one is the slightly broken version after we've done the VRM export and re-import and fiddling and then re-export. So on this one you can see it's got, for instance, at the top level here, oh, and I messed up the numbering at some point. It was 07 and then it became 04. It's got some extra scripts, like this VRM meta script that has a bunch of properties about the license of the model and so on. I wonder what happens if we open this up and look at the glasses. What I'm wondering is, can I avoid all of the painful operations to do with spring bones? Although not, I've abandoned spring bones for now. I kind of, for a start, I kind of like the look of having solid hair, but it's a huge pain to copy from one model to another. There is a script I saw somewhere reference to that helps with that specific aspect of it. The other thing that I could not get working are the shape keys. So where do those live? So these imported VRMs, I have each one live in one of these folders. So this is all of the assets for that particular model. I'll get rid of this now. These blend shapes are actually straightforward text files, YAML. Let's open some up. So this, for example, is the blend shape for the angry expression. So this lives in the resources of this particular model. And what it's doing is saying for each of these models I've used the word model to mean two different things. For the VRM model as a whole, there are multiple meshes. Each mesh in itself has various blend shapes. And the blend shape is just saying this is an animation keyframe where we've deformed the vertices of the mesh into a new position. I don't know if any other properties can be animated in a blend shape, but that's the main thing. So what this is saying is, inside the model are these 4 meshes that are relevant for the angry expression. The skin, the face brows, the skin of the face brows, the eyeline and the mouth. And then for the angry expression as a whole, which is what I can trigger from my VZ face, each of those models, it'll apply that blend shape. Each of those meshes, it'll apply that blend shape that's part of the mesh by this amount. So in particular, I've kept some of them at 100% and I've set some of them down to 65% or other values based on what I thought looked good in the end result. This is something I do by hand when I import a new model or new version of the model. And I've seen at least one YouTube tutorial that said you can just copy these from the old one to the new one and it should work. I don't know if it's because of the version of Unity or because I could be importing my prefabs in a different way. But I found that it doesn't work. I suspect it's something to do with, the extra data in here. I don't know what these flags mean. But the relevant, these won't be any different. These probably won't be either. All that's left of these GUIDs really, and this file ID, I don't know. File ID and GUID. So it's possible that a search replace would work. And then, if a search replace works, I could write a script to do it for me. There's also this top level blend shape asset. The reference is a bunch of GUIDs, and I don't know. So interestingly, I just spotted this. This number, first of all, is the same between these two, and it's the file ID here. Interesting. I think I already tried the simple thing of Googling. For the file format, yeah, I can see I've opened some of these links before. I didn't find anything that was a straightforward answer, but it would be worth experimenting, I think. So the other thing I was wondering is, in theory, this is now an instance of the correct prefab. The glasses on this model don't have any VRM specific components on them. I wonder, could I even just replace the mesh file? So we would go here, look at the glasses. The mesh here is here. So this is part of the FBX. I just dragged it, and what did it do? Did it move the entire prefab? It did. That's not useful. There's got to be a way to export it, right? Export package. Not the materials. Oh. Hang on, I'm in the materials. Where are we? What? Oh right, because we're referencing some of the materials in this folder. Yeah, it'll only export the whole FBX. Okay. Since that's not obvious, I'll go through and so I'll select this prefab. I will export it. I will export it. It's not showing up on stream, but there's just a window where I'm filling in a title and a version author. Millennium Cyborg V0.4 Trinity test re-import do not use. I'll go back to 0.7, I don't know. Do not use. I'll just copy that text for the version string. Author is Millennium Cyborg, and that's all I need. And put that in my VRM folder. And alright, so what that has done is take the prefab, or rather the instance of the prefab, I think, because I had to select that. It fed it through the VRM exporter, creating a VRM file. Next, we need to re-import that. And I need to save it somewhere, so I'm going to give it its own folder. Inside the project. So that version gets its own prefab. And that this version and then this is the version that normally we would edit the blend shapes on, the materials on. Actually, the materials you can edit on the FPX prefab, I think. But the blend shape, spring bones, and any other VRM features. And then finally re-export that to get the final VRM. I'm trying to avoid doing the blend shapes. And if I wasn't talking through this, I could have, and experimenting, I could have done the blend shapes by now, but... So the test here is the mesh for the glasses. This one should have the correct weights. And now this is actually a file on disk. So I can go in. It won't let, well, it's not obviously letting me do it in Unity, but I can definitely do it in, I'll make a backup version, paste the version from the other VRM, and now it may have reloaded already. Re-importing everything. I'm wondering if there's any good way to, well, I mean, there has to be a way to post things, I just don't know what it is. What I'd like to do is move that eye bone. So the entire armature gets turned into just a hierarchy of empty game objects with just a transform, which is quite funny. Because it means that there's nothing marking them as bones. And then The skinned mesh renderer just knows about the root object, the hips, the root object of the skeleton, and then the mapping of the vertex weights themselves, and their mapping to bones is kind of hidden away. At least as far as I know. Well, it's easy enough to just test live in this case. So, this is the model that I've replaced the glasses mesh on. So the mesh is what contains the weights. Everything else, including the blend shapes, should still be there. I'm just going to re-export this on top of my model. And now I'm going to re-import it in VSeeFace. Hold. Oh, the way it cuts me off there is quite funny. There's a blue band there that says, oh, I'm a bit too close to the camera, and it interacts funny with the transparency. What happened there exactly? I'm going to go back to this one because I don't know what happens if I remove one while it's selected. It worked! All right. Yeah, the transparency is still doing funny things. You know, I thought the eyelashes were poking out of the glasses, and I no longer think that. It's just a transparency effect. What I could do is lower the emissive values. So I'm using, for the most part, you know, physically based rendering. This is just it's using the standard shader. So in VSeeFace, my options are standard shader or toon shader. As far as I know, there's also the whole VSF avatar format that lets you do even more Unity stuff, but I'm not at the level where I can really understand that yet. Almost all of my model is just using the standard texture with a fairly basic material. So the skin, for instance, standard shader, opaque rendering, non-metallic, no emission, just a flat color really. but a few elements in order to look right. Hang on. I thought that these were emissive, but apparently not, so something else is going on. So the rendering mode on these... Oh, this is another interesting thing. There've been a number of interesting tools that will import a VRM model that I've seen recently, including one I really wanted to try that is doing fancier dynamic lighting than I do it myself. When I do it myself, it's just OBS trickery, but this was a sort of real lighting calculation against the model done inside a Unity app. And for my model, it had lots of issues in that app and a few other related apps. In particular, around the eyes, the materials just weren't rendering properly, and they were rendering like this. Let's hide the glass. Let's hide the glasses. So you see, the transparency isn't rendering correctly. And again, this is a situation where I should be reporting a bug back to the developers. I haven't gone around to it. So transparent. Actually, you know what? That's interesting. Transparent and fade. Have subtly different effects. As does cutout. So I think cutout is probably something fairly straightforward where there's a threshold on the alpha, on the transparency value. Fade looks pretty perfect to my eye. In terms of the blending, I don't know if it shows up on stream, but transparent, I can see some of the extra mesh of the eyelashes is kind of showing up in transparency. It's faint, but it's there. And finally we have opaque. Which is not suitable here. So these, I also picked fade. So cutout isn't too bad. I think the eyebrows as well I've got on fade. Cutout isn't ideal, but it's not awful either, even up close. So for the eyes I have cutout. I think I fiddled with some of this before while looking at some details of how OBS and VSeeFace were rendering this. I'm going to set the things. What happens for a start if I change the eyes? to fade, to transparent. I mean, there's not a huge difference. I'm going to try making all of the relevant materials transparent. And I do notice the slight ghosting effect, but I'm curious to know if we will see that. Oh! Wow! That is freaky. So the glasses are using two different materials. The relevant one is the glass. That's using fade. If I pick transparent, okay, well, assuming this is also how it looks in Vroid, well, you know what, let's find out. I'm going to call it something else this time. Transparent. Well, the file's different, but the model name is the same, so this is a cool look, I'm not gonna lie, but not what I'm going for. It does give us a hint though. So the glasses were using fade. And so were the eyelashes, and only these irises were using cutout. And that looks correct. I wonder if we can tweak these render queue values. So first of all, if we make them cut out, actually it looks correct. I'm just being picky and I'm curious. Transparent, oh, the problem with transparency is even more obvious there. So fade is a good option. So I'm gonna first of all make everything fade. And now I think, well, either larger numbers are later in the render queue or larger numbers are early in the render queue. Huh. Can't pick anything but transparent. Can I change? Transparent plus 10. Plus 100. That's working. So what we've done is we've told it to render the glasses after everything else so that we've composited the elements of the face. It's possible that particularly weird angle it wouldn't look right, but it's working. And I understand why it's working. And I think it'll be interesting to see how this affects the pseudo reflection effect, which is actually transparency, in the output buffer of VSeeFace as captured by OBS. I'm confident, and I'm going to overwrite the current model. So right now, in every part of the glasses, there is transparency through to the background. The glass part of the glasses. And it's particularly noticeable around the edges of the eyelashes, actually. All right. I'm going to select this bad version. Oh, I should have picked the good version. I'm going to remove this avatar. Hang on. Oh, that didn't work. What does that mean? Let's double check. Double check my steps. This is the working model as we see it in Unity. I'm exporting it to a new VRM this time. I'm going into VSeeFace. I'm selecting my standard model. I'm removing the broken version of the Trinity version. I'm opening the fixed one. I'm loading it up. It didn't work. So, I guess the render queue setting isn't taken into consideration. Either that or is explicitly overwritten. That would be a problem if I wanted to really go fancy with multi-layered transparency effects in the model. But now, for the sake of having a working model, I don't want that camera. Okay. I'm going to use the cutout mode. And accept that the very edges of some of my textures are not going to be blended nicely. What did we do? We did eyebrows and the two different parts of the eyelashes, or the eyeline and the eyelashes. And finally, the iris is in cutout. How about the highlights? That's interesting, because the highlights themselves, maybe they should come... no. On this one, I really see why I didn't go with transparent. No, I guess it's fine. As a cutout. Now another thing to figure out would be, how can I toggle the glasses as an accessory? I think the answer there is that, and I've seen some people do amazing things. So people like Fofamit, actually, I'm not sure about anyone else, but Fofamit definitely has her own app in Unity that does a bunch of stuff. So all of the features she's implemented, I can conceptually understand. What's really impressive is people who have entire rooms and a bunch of animations. For example, Astral Hex, without apparently any coding. And I think that's all done with animations that can be triggered in VC Face, and you can have animation state machines, I think, so that you can have an animation state for having glasses on or off, for various, I don't know, maybe cameras even. But I still need to find out how to do that. Alright, we've set these things to cut out. And this time for sure, it's got to work. I'm going to overwrite the fixed version of the model. Go back into VC Face. Take my standard model. Remove and re-add the latest one. That looks good. Looking good. And I didn't have to touch any blend shapes. And I think I won't need to touch blend shapes as long as really, as long as I'm not modifying the face of the model. Now, bad news. I do need to modify the face of the model because there's a tiny little thing, a tiny little detail that bothers me, and that's in some of the model's actual blend shapes. A lot of them, in fact, Like blinking? The tip of my nose disappears. Actually, something weird is happening at the corners of my mouth when I blink as well, I've realised. Yeah, so that's something to figure out. I'm just looking at my nose now. What's next? I mean, this was what I wanted to get done for now. You know what? Actually, the reflection in the glasses also looks a lot better. What have you got? There's something, I think, yeah, we can see the light, the actual light in the scene as well. Reflecting off the glasses. And then the transparency is causing the background to show through in OBS. Interesting detail as well. If I have my avatar in a different scene and, well, no, essentially, hang on, let's try this. Depending on exactly what this is composing against, I do or don't get the transparency effect. Okay, it is here. It's just subtle. That's funny as well. I wonder... I wonder whether I can use the dynamic mask that's on my avatar . The background. Oh, you know what? I can still have the filter open. So there's a multiplier. But if I... Oh, well, there I go. Ooh, spooky. Oh wow, okay. There's a tooltip on here and it's just giving us all the info at once. The calculation mask alpha equals... Oh, the tooltip went away. Mask alpha equals base alpha plus value alpha red times source red. You know what, I'm gonna screenshot this. And then what? I don't know where it goes, but I know I can paste it here. Alright. The calculation is the mask alpha is the base alpha plus the red multiplier times the red source, we don't care about that. The alpha multiplier times the source, and then times the overall multiplier. The effect I have in my head right now is I'd like if the alpha is if the alpha is 1, I want to keep it at 1. But if it's less than 1, I want to reduce it even further to enhance the effect. So an easy way to do that would be to set the multiplier to 0.5. Hang on. Why is it not? I'm changing the filter and it's not having an effect here. Oh, it's because I've got 2 copies of the filter for the small and large version of the avatar. So let's come back here. There we are. Wow. That I probably hard to see even on stream because of all the compression. And because I love to do things that are awful for my bitrate. But now we've halved the alpha value, we can bump the base value by 0. By 1. No, hang on. The base was 1.0 to start with. It's not an offset. No, okay. The multiplier here, but the alpha input, hang on, alpha input value. Alpha input value 0. I need to go back to this. So the source alpha, the multiplier multiplies the result of the rest of the calculation. So we have, what's confusing me is that alright, so alpha, red, green, blue are just indices for the channel. And we don't care about any of this. This is a terrible way to edit text. And this is irrelevant actually. The part where it says multiplier channel.alpha confuses me a little. So value alpha alpha Can I even take a screenshot of all of the parameters that it's giving me here? No, I can't get them all on screen at once. I mean, there's only one thing that's the multiplier. What's confusing me is... Right, now the base is set to 1 and the alpha input to 0. And then the multiplier to 1, that makes sense. But I would expect this to give us an alpha value of 1 for every pixel. With that formula. Alright, well, I've tried puzzling it out. I'm going to now try wiggling the numbers and seeing what happens. For example, base to 0.5. I'm semi-transparent. Multiply to 0.5, same effect. How about multiplier 2 base 0.5? I can't distinguish between that and the original version. Going back to ones, I'm going to fiddle with the alpha input value, so increasing that, decreasing that. How about if I say alpha input value minus 0.5, and then what do I boost? I'll try boosting the multiply to 2, indistinguishable. And boost the base to 2. It's wiped out the alpha completely. And base to 1.5. Can't tell the difference. Something more extreme. Minus 0.9 in the alpha multiplier. $1.9 in the base value. I only seem to be able to affect the... It's as if the alpha was the same across the entire... Let's go back to the original values and let's... Out of interest, go into the red channel. I'm being silly, of course. I just realised, because what I was thinking of as the source... The source is the blurred version of the background. Not the avatar. So when we look at the formula, source alpha and value alpha, those will be 1 anyway. Base, mask, multiplier. Multiplier. I'm wondering if the color correction... No. Color grading, perhaps. That doesn't really deal with the alpha. Well, now we know that we can ignore the... Maybe alpha input value No, let's do 2. And then base value 0 minus 1. Is that any better? Minus 2, but input value 3. Alpha input 10. Base value minus 5 minus 9. That just gives me what I had before. Minus 8 minus 10 minus 9.5. I'm still reproducing the same situation. And if the multiplier... yeah, the multiplier is not helping either. You know what? I can probably do what I want with a proper shader. I have been experimenting with those. So what we could do there probably we would apply it on directly on the avatar capture. There were 2 different filters I found that implement shader filters for OBS. One is shader effects, which are used for a few other things like source copies and the dynamic masking, the dynamic lighting that I'm using here. And the other is OBS shader filter. OBS shader filter is the one that I figured out. So we're going to use a file. And this should be quite a simple one. I'm going to use a file, although there's an editor in the filter, so that we can actually see what we're doing. And that's going to go in my widgets folder probably. And that's going to be alpha test shader. So where are we? This is something else I was messing around with. I just want to remember the syntax for a few things. So let's see. We want a ramp, right? So at alpha we want alpha 0 to still go to 0. We want alpha 1 to still go to 1. But we want, say, 0.25 to still to go to, sorry, 0.5 to go to 0.25. So basically we want to do some gamma correction. And we'll have some value above 1, for example 2. You know, shaders, there's a lot of magic variables here. So this is, I figured out, an HLSL shader. Image is a predefined value by OBS shader filter, and that's just the input of what we're filtering. Dot sample is the HLSL function to sample. Texture sampler is a predefined set of sampling parameters. The sampling mode is just, oh, do we interpolate linearly? Do we how do we handle any coordinates outside the bound? So if you've got a UV value of 0 to 1, that's within the bounds of the texture. But if it's outside that, do you wrap it around, or do you clamp it, or what? And then these are the UV input coordinates that's translating the fraction across the image source into a value 0 to 1 in X and Y. So all we want to do is to say, store this away, and then there are fancy things you can do with the components of vectors. You can refer to multiple components at once, like this, to pack and unpack values. And I'm not certain which ones work in what situations quite yet, but and of course that should be RGB. And A. Or should it be X, Y, Z, and W? Let's try that. I'm not certain these are right. The other amusing thing is going to be that when I test this, if there's a syntax error, it's not going to tell me, it's just going to not work. Use effect file. No, load shader from text file. Browse to the one I'm editing. And I don't know if that's working. So I will go over to this screen. Is that working? Well, what we can do now is... Oh, right. I put 2 here, but it's an editable value. So I actually can edit it right here without reloading. If I put 1, if I put 5, yeah, that's working. No, what do I put? 10? I mean, at a certain point, you can't see my eyes anymore. Already quite hard to see with the new version. But the glasses are meant to be quite dark. I quite like the look of 5. Gamma of 5. So the reason this is exciting for me is that, well, of course, now that I've also figured out something about the fade material and so on, maybe opening up that other project that does real reflections, maybe that would work properly now. But the other idea I had is that I want to do some racing games, futuristic racing games, and I wanted a helmet on my model. I thought it'd be really cool if I could get a proper reflection in those. It's now occurring to me though that that would mean I would need to do quite careful things with the... Oh heck, I'd probably write a custom shader at that point. Yeah. Anyway, how are we doing? I actually have a bit more time than usual this evening. I wonder... how does this look when composed into... So now this time the extra shader I just made applies onto the avatar capture source. So if we go back to Visual Studio or something... Well, this is a uniform background, so you just see... you know... let's load up this scene. No, the game scene. No, this scene. Huh? What? What? Wait. What's happened to my lighting? Oh, interesting. Okay, here we go. Is that convincing as a reflection, or does that just look like I'm transparent in a weird way? I like it. Let's see. Why in this scene in particular is it not working? I see, it's because I'm including the avatar directly. I've reworked my stack of filters and things. So I'm going to replace this with a subscene. Remove these. There we go. And then what I wanted to try was Milk drop. Let's find something not too upsetting. Sure, let's start with that. So I'm going to load up going to pick what to do. For every single app, there's some little trick to what you have to do to get the capture working correctly. That's not it. That's capturing something, but I wonder whether it's upset that I've got two different captures of Winamp going at the same time. It's capturing something or other because it's overwriting the background. And this is the same scene I had before this is doing a game capture. Alright, this isn't important. I was just wanting to test that against a different background. I guess the next thing I want to figure out is the blend shapes. Because I want to... Okay, let's have a look in Blender. Here's my beautiful face. And now, oh, there's something weird. The mesh names are all just like hair.baked. I think that comes from the initial export from Vroid Studio. Now the vertex groups, those are just to do with the bones of the armature. Here we are. Some kind of key on the mesh. Shape keys. I'm kind of in the way, but there's also a whole bunch of names of shape keys. And I know that some of them, here we are, some of them have issues around the mouth and nose. So I think I remember in particular the mouth eye. Interesting. I don't see an issue in Blender. Let's go into edit mode. What I want to see is if there's any movement at all of those vertices. Oh, interesting. It won't, while I'm in edit mode, it won't. Right. As I select, so if I select Mouth A, and then click the model. Right, okay. How do I select nothing? I guess basis. So in particular what I can't do is play with the values live while this is showing in edit mode. So instead I'll show the wireframe and then modify this. Yeah, I don't see a single thing moving there. I wonder. I wonder. Could there be... So one thing I don't know is whether vertex groups... Could there be a change in the weights based on the shape keys? Now with the interface as it is, I don't think so. It would be hard to say. How about normals? It would make sense for the normals to be modified by the shape keys as well. Gizmos, no. Object type, no. Overlays. Bones, geometry. Wireframe orientation. Orientation is useful to tell when you have inside out normals. I don't even know, is the representation are there any normals that we can modify? It must be possible because I know that what do I know? Edit mode. Object gizmos normal, that's just an orientation. It's a mirror modifier. Merge. Mesh edit. Mesh analysis. Overhang. Yeah, that's interesting, but... Oh, there they are. I guess I want... vertex per face. Vertex normals. Yeah, just vertex normals. And the size. .01 or even less. Alright. We're in edit mode. If I click mouth eye, do the normals on the nose move? They very obviously do not. I'm just going to step through these. Interesting. Not a vertex or a normal out of place on any of these shape keys. It's possible that there's a bug in anywhere from the exporting of the FBX down to the rendering in Unity or something in VZFace itself. Well, you know what? We should check in Unity. I don't think there's a... I think that if I wanted to see the wireframe in the normals, I might need to... use a fantasy shader. So we've got a wireframe at least. I mean, unless there's something obvious I'm missing, it's possible as well. Somewhere in the tools. How do I preview the blend shapes? I do know how to do that. Alright, it's not being previewed in the scene, but in this tiny little view here. Zoom in on the nose. Whoa. Yeah, I also don't see anything here. But I think I remember seeing... Okay, here we go. Interesting. I'm actually noticing it's like a game of spot the difference, right? I'll try to maximize the space available here. Ah. I notice shading changes in the ears. Blink is a good one. We can see shading differences in the mouth. But most importantly, the nose. The mouse wheel scroll to zoom is not very accurate. I don't remember. I'm trying combinations of mouse buttons and modifiers. Without much success. I'm not close enough to really be able to figure out what is happening. The other thing I didn't mention yet would be something to do with the UVs. No, I'm not using a texture. It can't be the UVs. Okay, that's just it clipping against the near plane. Material list, blend shape list, material list. Perhaps it's possible to blend between materials as well, or something like that. There are a bunch of lighting changes as well, which is particularly confusing. I have a different idea. I'm thinking it could be some form of quantization somewhere in the pipeline. I'm going to import the FBX, first of all, the one that's in my Blender folder. Right, okay, the material didn't import correctly from the FBX, but actually I should expect that. And what I want to see is the shape keys. I'm going to look first of all in this mode at the mesh. And blink was iClose was what was causing issues. Well, again, not obviously any issues there. If we go into edit mode, show the normals. And then switch to iClosed. Yeah. So it's not a quantization issue in the export from Blend to FBX. Guess I need to delete hierarchy. There we go. Next, I'm going to import the version in the Unity project. Can I export the face as is with the wireframe? So I think I'd need to oh, interesting, my chat isn't showing. I messed around with so many things that I'm not surprised actually. As a Halloween costume, well, I think you'd need to export it and then apply a wireframe shader of some kind. But that would be straightforward. Actually, the Halloween avatar that I had in mind was one of my more cursed ones. I can show you now, not many people watching. I had one that went terribly, terribly wrong. Which one was it? This one. The shape keys didn't work, and the spring bones applied to entirely the wrong things. I don't know how I managed it exactly, but I don't want to look at that anymore. Yeah, that's a pretty good cursed one for Halloween, maybe. Alright, I was going to have a look at the FBX in the Unity project. And once again, I'm going to do a quick test of it in both object mode and edit mode. No obvious difference. Edit mode. No. Huh. Oh, of course. Another part of the pipeline is the conversion to a VRM file. Can I? Well, I must be able to export, but oh no, I know, because I do have the CAT plugin. So I can import a VRM. Let's see. Got too many folders. All right. Here's an import of it seems to be slowly finding the materials, and not everything is going to be correct, but the important part is we have the model directly as it is in the VRM. And once again, let's have a look. Eyes closed. That doesn't really look any different to me. So the normals and the vertex positions in the blend shape are identical in the model as it is in the VRM. mysterious. And yet in Unity, even though we're just using the standard shader, nothing fancy, no textures even. I'm going to turn off these things and see what they do. Whatever they do, that's not the solution. I'm going to try disabling shadows. It's not something I want to keep, but it might be informative. We still see the issue. So it's not to do with the self-shadowing. Well, it's not to do with the shadow casting or receiving. I don't think probes are relevant here. Blend shape quality. I'll try 4 bones. It could be, well, I don't even know. I'll just try it and see. That's not it. Update when off screen. Again, seems implausible. No, that's not it. Look at that. Let's hide the hair. Oh, it's not hidden here. Oh, because it's using the prefab rather than the live version. Does that mean everything I was doing here was a nonsense when it comes to testing? I think the answer is yes. I need to open this and test from here. Let's have a look at the blend shape. Well, that's still using the prefab, the preview. I wonder. Do I save the prefab? Okay, I've hidden. That's taken. No, did it take effect? I'm confused now. show it here. Into the prefab. It's still hidden. It's hidden in the prefab, but if I open the blend shape, see, it's visible here, which is very confusing. What if I find a different way to disable it? So that's setting the alpha to 0 in the material for the hair. Good. So what that allowed me to do is to preview the blend shape. And now look at that. Really wish the preview was larger. So if you look at the way the lighting works around the ear and the nose, very confusing. Oh, hang on. Can I preview it here? Maybe. I can, but the lighting is not as useful. Quality 4 bones. Eyes close. Issue is still there. Update when off screen. Eye close. Issue is still there. Cast shadows off. Receive shadows off. Eyes close. Issue is still there. Skinned motion vectors and dynamic occlusion. Issue is still there. Turn off blend probes. Issue is still there. Turn off specular highlights and reflections. Nope. Fiddle with smoothness. It was 0.1. It helps us see that a lot of the shading is changing, but What about smoothness 0? No. Well, at this point, I suppose my best option is to start Googling. I have a better idea of where the problem might lie. And it seems to be specifically happening in Unity. Let's undo the hair changes before I forget. Seems to be something mysterious happening in Unity that's not directly based on changes in the vertices or their normals in the blend shape. And I say Unity, but the blend shape is being applied by what? No, I think this must be a built-in thing and not VRM specific. All right. I think I'm going to stop here. We've made good progress. We figured out a lot to do with the transparency on the glasses and the reflection effect. And we fixed the tracking of the weights on the glasses to be parented correctly to the head. And I figured out a few things about a few shortcuts, I guess, in terms of making changes to the model and importing them into Unity. Great. This is really dramatic music for a chatting screen. What have we got? That's a bit more chill. So where are we at in terms of the next stream? I've still not picked the next game. We finished off Zone of the Enders 1 and 2, and I still need to finish uploading those to YouTube, but I need to pick another game. So probably Friday, I'll have another game stream. And I mentioned I'm thinking of some kind of fighter jet sort of game. Still deciding which one. It won't be Ace Combat 7 or whatever the latest is, and not Ace Combat Infinity, because I've already finished those relatively recently. One of the other many I've not played yet instead. Or one of the weirder ones that's available on Steam. Right. Well, this has been a productive stream. Thank you so much to everyone who watched. And anything else? I thought I had something. Nope, gone from my mind. I'll mention it next time if it's important. Alright, it's time for me to go. And if you, like me, have caught the Millennium Bug, make sure to watch the next stream, or find me elsewhere on the World Wide Web by clicking on the links below the video. I've been Millennium Cyborg, keep that future vibe, and I'll see you in the world of tomorrow.